Has this ever happened to you? You plant a seed, it sprouts, grows a bit, and then dies? Nothing's more frustrating. Today, I'm going to share with you 7 mistakes you can't afford to make when growing seedlings. Let's go! If your seedlings are tall, weak, and spindly, it's probably because they're not getting enough light. They get tall and thin in search for the light. Starting your seeds on a south-facing window may not be enough light for your seedlings to grow strong and stout. Using a grow light will solve this problem. For most of my seedlings, once I see them press out of the soil, I'll take my Vego seed cells and place them under my light. I make sure the light is close to the cells so when the seedlings emerge, they have plenty of light and don't have to go looking for it. The kind of light you use is up to you. An LED or fluorescent light will work great. A fluorescent light like I have right here, this will emit a little more heat than your LED, so it's a great option if you're in a basement like I am or in a garage. An LED light is a great option as well. It's going to be more energy efficient, but they typically cost more than a fluorescent grow light will. I have found that this fluorescent light is the perfect fit for 2 10 by 20 trays, just like this. It works perfect, and this is a healthy height that I like to keep when the seedlings are at this stage. You'll see they just popped up a few days ago. When they're just popping up, you can drop the light just a few inches off the soil, and then after they're popped up and looking good, raise the light up. To be honest, enough light alone won't be sufficient to keep your seedlings from getting leggy. If it's too warm, then they'll kind of stretch out to try to cool themselves off. Temperature plays a major role in seedling growth and especially in seed germination. Different kinds of plants require different temperatures in order to germinate. For instance, if your soil temperature is below 55 degrees, then your pepper seeds may never germinate. On the other hand, if the temperature of the soil is above 85 degrees, then your arugula seeds may never germinate. Temperature plays a crucial role in not only germination, but also in young seedling growth. For warm weather crops like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and more, a trusty heat mat will help us keep the temperature of the soil between 70 and 95 degrees, the temperatures that these warm weather plants love to germinate in. A heat mat with a temperature gauge is good, but just a standard heat mat will work fine as well. What I do is I plant my seeds in a tray just like this, then I'll take this tray and just put it in any room in my house where it stays between like 68 and 72 degrees. For my warm season crops, I'll stick a heat mat underneath it just like that. I will daily go by and check if any of the seeds are starting to sprout. Once I see them pushing up through the soil, I grab the tray and the mat and put it under the light. One thing to note is some seeds, like lettuce, need light to sprout. For ones like these, I'll just plant them and then stick my cells right under the light. I suggest removing the humidity domes once your seeds sprout. If you don't, then your young plants will be used to growing in that high, humid, greenhouse-like condition. Then, when you do finally want to remove the domes, you need to make sure that you acclimate your plants to that new environment. If you let your plants grow in the dome and then just take it off and never put it back on, then that could cause stress to your plants because living in a dome with a high humid environment is a lot different than just living in the regular air. Let me show you my favorite tool for planting seeds. This thing allows you to plant so many seeds in a short amount of time. I grab my 76 cell tray, fill this up with soil, then take my plant and pot board, drop it right on top. Then I can take my seeds, drop them right in really easily, take the board off, water it in. In a short amount of time, this thing will pop up with so many plants loaded. It's the quickest and easiest way to get a lot of seeds planted quickly, especially your small seeds. You gotta grab one now over at teamgrow.us. Water is the basis for all life, but too much of a good thing can quickly become a bad thing. One of the most common mistakes I see is overwatering. When soil stays too wet for too long, it can cause a host of problems. Just like us, plants need to breathe. And too much water in the soil will actually push the air out of the soil. And that's really bad for the roots because the roots need oxygen to thrive and survive. Oversaturated soil will also lead to lower germination rates because just like roots, seeds need that oxygen in order to survive. So soggy soil is not a good thing. Soggy soil creates the perfect environment for harmful fungi. These can attack your roots and even cause rot. That will disrupt the uptake of both water and nutrition for your plants and potentially even cause them to die. Overwatered seedlings often look droopy even though there's plenty of water around. They may even start to turn yellow, the leaves starting from the bottom. Constantly wet soil can slow down seedling growth because they struggle to take up the nutrients they need, resulting in weaker plants. These plants may even be more disease prone in the future. To prevent this, what we want to do is not overwater. Some ways we can do that is make sure that whatever we're growing in has good drainage holes at the bottom, allowing that water to drain out the bottom and not just sit down there. What I like to do is do it by weight. So right now this is saturated, it was just watered. It's pretty heavy. I'll come by in a couple hours or even a day and check the weight. Once it starts to get lighter, I'll know that a lot of the water has been soaked up by those cucumbers and it's time to water again. Make sure you keep out for signs of overwatering because you don't want the basis of life being the cause of death for your young seedlings. We got into water, light, and temperature. Now let's jump into soil and the important role it plays in growing healthy seedlings. Last year, I tested every bag of soil that Lowe's sells to find out which one is best for the price. At the end of it, I declared Happy Frog my winner, and this is the only bagged soil that I use to start my seeds in. You don't want to use regular garden soil from outside to start your seeds in because it's too dense and will inhibit sprouting and growth. What I suggest you do is grab a bag of potting mix. I will use Happy Frog for my large seeds like cucumbers. I just dump out some potting mix, add some water, mix it around until the soil is damp, not soggy, just damp. You don't want overly saturated soil. Then you could pop your soil into the cells and plant your seeds. For smaller seeds like lettuce, I suggest taking your potting mix and sifting it first. I use this Vego sifter. You can just make your own if you want with some hardware cloth. Then I wet my soil down, fill my cells, and plant my seeds. Sifting removes large sticks and bark that are in the mix, which can inhibit small seeds from sprouting. You can also make your own seed starting mix. I have a good recipe of a seed starting mix that I make. If that's something you want to see, let me know and we can put a video together for it. One of my favorite quotes from one of my heroes, Bill Mollison, is when he talked about how trees eat wind. That sounds a little bit confusing, but it actually makes a lot of sense. What he was talking about is, in a forest of all trees, the wind penetrates the forest, but there gets to a point in the forest where there's no more wind. So the wind almost has like disappeared. But the phenomena that occurs from that is that the trees that are at the front end of the forest tend to be thicker and wider because as the wind blows in, it kind of strengthens those trees, but then it causes them to grow thicker. So it's almost like the trees eat the wind. Wind and a light breeze can greatly help your plants if you use it the right way. The perfect grow setup is one that closely mimics the outside conditions because, that's where plants naturally grow. One element of nature that I often see gardeners forget to add to their grow setup and their plants pay for it is a bit of wind. A simple breeze like this will greatly strengthen your seedlings and better prepare them for their future home outside. You don't want the wind to be too strong on your seedlings or they could get wind damage, or you might just dry out the top of the soil too quickly, but a little breeze will make a big difference. If you're seeing green on the top of your soil, that's probably a combination of the soil being too wet and the air too stagnant. A fan will help remedy this issue. I use an oscillating fan that I got from Amazon to help keep the air moving. Usually, one of the most common mistakes new gardeners make has to do with timing. You just get so excited, it's too much to bear, you gotta get something in the ground as soon as possible. Even though it seems like planting early would be a great thing, it could actually be a hassle if you don't have the space. Say you got some plants, you've been growing them, and now it's super early. What do you do with them? You have to keep potting them up to larger pots, or if you run out of space in general, you gotta try to put those out in the garden potentially too early. That's why I always say it's better to start your seeds a little late rather than too early. To find out when you should get your seeds planted, what you need to do is go online and look up when your last expected frost date is. Then find out what kind of plant you want to grow and see when you should plant that in relation to your frost date. For instance, most people will say that you should plant your tomatoes about 6 to 8 weeks before your last expected frost date. But in my opinion, I wouldn't plant them any earlier than 6 weeks before your last expected frost date. Because for me, I'm in New Jersey, zone 7A. My last expected frost date is April 19th. But I don't plant my tomatoes out until the second week of May. So technically, I could start my seeds on April 1st, and then that gives me 6 weeks until it's actually time to plant out my tomatoes. Because I don't actually put my tomatoes in the ground until a few weeks after my last expected frost date, because that's truly when the weather actually heats up and gets around the right temperatures where tomatoes like to grow. I know all this because I keep it in my journal. You did everything right. Your seedlings are thriving. The weather is heating up. But if you just grab your seedlings right from the grow room and bring them outside, it's likely that they will die. We created the ideal growing conditions, and our plants have lived a nice, easy, cush life. To transition into the natural elements would be too much to happen all at once. So we need to slowly acclimate our plants to the outside conditions before we just plant them out for good. This is known as hardening off. Our plants need to be hardened, to be toughened up before they go out into nature for good. The way we want to do this is slowly over about a week period. The first day, take your plants. If it's a nice day outside, bring them outside, put them in a shady location for about an hour or two, then bring them inside. Every day, increase the amount of time that you leave them outside. On about the third day, start to put them in some direct sunlight for a few hours and then bring them back in. By the end of the hardening off process, your plants should be able to survive outside for 24 hours with no issues. Just make sure when you're hardening them off, don't put them out there on a really windy day, and don't leave them out there until they're fully hardened off on a day where the temperatures are going to drop below 45 degrees. If you're hardening your plants off correctly, then you could send them into their forever homes. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you got something out of it. This video was a little different than some of my other videos, basically just because of the location. We're inside. I think this might be one of the only times I've ever shot a video inside. Let us know down in the comments if you like it, if the sound is good, if the lighting is good, and if you think the plants look good. One thing we also want to let you guys know is, of course, you probably have noticed we've got the guardian of the garden watching over everything. He's watching over the seedlings. We haven't had any issues, and you know he's up there supervising, so we love that guy's help. We also want to mention that you guys need to be a part of Team Grow if you want to take your garden to the next level. And being part of Team Grow has to do with growing a better future all together, one garden at a time. You start a garden, you share that with someone, they share that with someone, and then this becomes a compounding thing, and the whole world is filled with gardens. That's the kind of world that I want to live in. Overall, I had a blast with this video. It was a lot of fun. Let us know down in the comments if there are some common mistakes or even any mistakes you guys make with your seedlings or you've seen made with your seedlings that everyone should know about so they don't make the same mistakes and they could have success in their garden, because good, healthy, productive plants come from good, healthy seedlings. I also wanted to mention that check out the website because it's the perfect time to grab some of your garden gear. We have hands down the best garden gear you could possibly get. It's not garden stuff that I make myself because I just can't make the best products. What I do is I found a company that makes the best products and we partner with them. That's the same thing with MI Gardener Seeds. He's got the best seeds for the best price. That's who we partner with because our goal is to bring you as much value as possible, to put the right tools in your hand so you can guarantee yourself success. I also wanted to mention a thank you to one of our new channel members, Laura Clark. Thanks for being a part of Team Grow. Thanks for having your hand in everything we're doing, in here. That's today's video. We guys hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back at you again real soon. We